Hi ladies and gents, I'm Duckiee and welcome to the Duckiee Productions podcast, where I share my handwritten scary stories to you guys. If you like my stories, please like this and follow me on my podcast and enjoy this episode. Disclaimer: I do not condone any of these actions that are portrayed in my stories. The scenes that take place are only for entertainment purposes only. This podcast is not for kids. Please listen to this podcast at your own risk. It was a hot summer day. Not too hot to where it felt like 100 degrees, but enough for me to clean around my house. I had just moved from my old house from Ohio and moved into my new house here in Indiana, which is where I am currently living in now. I start heading downstairs to the basement. It's a bit dark, but the light from the small windows in the room helps shed some light for me to see. I sometimes come down here to clean the dust and the cobwebs that would decorate the space. It's been a while since I've last been down here. Years. So I don't fully remember all of the boxes that I have put down here. I begin to look around the basement to see which side of the room of boxes to start on. It was either the left side or the right side. Even though it didn't matter, I just went on doing the right side instead. I start with the boxes on top first before getting to the other boxes at the bottom. While sorting through the boxes, I run across a box full of objects and trinkets, and when I opened it, I find something that wasn't there before. It was a small radio. I don't remember it being placed in this box, so I stopped what I was doing and took my time to inspect it and see if it still worked. I checked the radio's battery compartment, and luckily it only needed batteries, so I took the radio upstairs to the kitchen to put some in. As I placed them in, it finally started to work. The stations on the radio drowned in white noise as I switched through the channels. The radio was in good condition, so I decided to take the radio into my bedroom. I left it on my desk and continued back to cleaning the basement downstairs again. Night fell. I was in my room reading at my desk until I was interrupted by a sound from the radio. I was surprised that it had turned itself on, though I didn't care or it didn't really bother me too much, so I took the radio and turned it off. Thinking that it was off, I went back to reading, but then a scream bursted through the tiny box. The scream was so loud that I thought my ears were going to pop. The scream was unbearable. It was painful to listen. Covering my ears didn't work as much. For a minute, I thought that the screaming was going to last forever, but suddenly, the voice winded itself down. I started to feel relieved even though I was still frightened, scared at the fact that the scream sounded real, too real. I thought that I was going insane, like I was going crazy. I began to collect myself and pick up the radio from off my desk. I looked to find the battery section in the radio. I started to pull out one battery at a time. There were only 2 batteries needed to power on or power off the radio, but before I could finish the job, a voice came through. It was saying something, a word. I couldn't hear it at first, but then it repeated itself. Hallway, it said. The voice sounded calm, like it was whispering to me through the box. But why hallway, I wondered. Why just that word? So I took it upon myself to go out to the hallway. As I walked out, I was still able to hear the static noise of the radio from my room as it fills the atmosphere. It was dark, airy, and felt cold like ice. It felt like I was walking into a deserted tunnel, leading me to something unknown. The windows of the living room was the only light that shined through with its blue tone on the walls. Still feeling uneasy, I began to ask if anyone was there. Standing there, waiting for something or someone to answer me. Suddenly, a dark figure, like a ghost or a shadow, appeared in front of me, blankly, like it was motionless, or like it was still. It didn't have a face, but it had eyes. They were very large, as if they were bulging out. No skin was there to cover the exposed organ. I was able to see how veiny its eyes were. They were bloodshot red. Its eyes were bloody. The shadow made me feel perturbed as it was still staring at me. It felt like its eyes were piercing at me, as if it was still staring into my soul, as if it knew me. While there was a long pause of silence between us, the shadow finally spoke to me. It spoke to me in an unsettling and disoriented voice. "You'll die here," it said. "You'll be like me. with no soul, no life, forever trapped with no freedom. You will never escape. You'll die. And then the shadow disappeared, leaving me afraid and scared. I couldn't sleep that night. The things that the shadow said was still playing in my head. It left me an uncomfortable feeling. 2 weeks later, I started moving again. I couldn't listen to that same voice wrapping around my head every night. I couldn't take the voices telling me, "You'll die." So after loading boxes after boxes from out of my house, I began to move away from my home, now leaving it for someone else to take. The radio is still there, sitting on the stone floor of the basement. It's been a while since I've been in that house, since I've last seen that radio, that tiny box radio, and the dark shadow that came with it, forever playing those voices over and over again. So what did you guys think? Did you like this story? If so, please like this episode and follow me for more. You can follow me on YouTube, Anchor, and on Spotify. You can also follow my Instagram page at Duckiee Productions for more updates. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll be posting soon, and make sure to ponder it next time. Bye!